Two black men.
Two black men.
Two black men.
With love.
With love.
With love, black women.
For some reason, I think black men are perceived to always have a gun.
That they're either rapists or murderers, or they're not taking care of their children.
On the news, if there was something happening that was revolving crime, you saw a black male. And on the media, if someone was not taking care of their child, or, there was going to be that token deadbeat daddy, you saw a black male.
While they are stereotyped to be really good at athletics, a lot of folks will still think that they're not intelligent, that they're not smart, they're good for physical labor kind of things.
I think one big thing that people do think is all black men from a struggling neighborhood are destined to be failures. I think that needs to be debunked. It's come from a long history of blackness. I just remember looking at, in class when they would talk about slavery and things like that, looking at media where black men were coons and they were the entertainers. I think a lot of what it was because there was so much fear that they were so capable, they did a lot of flipping that on their head and used them as more of entertainment. Hey, we own you.
It irritates me because I have all these positive, incredibly intelligent and talented black men in my life, and they're doing remarkably well in helping society, but no one's talking about that. They're talking about that 1% that's screwing up.
I'm not saying black men never carry a gun. I'm not saying black men never leave their children, but to generalize a whole group of people into that is just pretty annoying. All these are myths that just need to stop. Generally, because it's just not fair. What about all of the other black men that are taking care of their children and they just have jobs and doing their best for their family?
I have seen the negativity take its toll on a couple of my brothers, and just the way they think about themselves and the way their images. They're like, well, if people think that I'm like that, I'm going to become that way. And constantly reminding them, you were raised to be better than that, to do greater things. You can't give in to what society thinks.
My brother, I think that he's this big 6'4" black man who is a complete teddy bear. But automatically, people kind of get a little bit intimidated by him. And I think my biggest fear is one day he's going to walk out into the world and people aren't going to know that he is the teddy bear that he is, and he is that good man that he is, and something bad might happen.
I'd look at my older brother, Orlando, who was murdered. So it's been almost 9 years. He was at home in Pittsburgh, and he was murdered. A young man put an ice pick through his heart. And the circumstances surrounding his death have never, ever been cleared. So we don't know all the details. But what I do know is the very person that murdered him is the very person he would have advocated for. It was a young man that was a lightweight. My brother was a good 350, 6'4", so a big man. But the man that killed him was probably 90 pounds wet. The very person he would have advocated for is the very person that killed him. So it's difficult because he was such a loving person. And he may not have always made all the right decisions or the smart decisions, but the one thing I know is that he had a big heart and he loved people, and he would never ever hurt somebody that was smaller than him or take advantage of somebody that was smaller than him.
And even knowing that as a black man on just walking down the street, just existing has gotten them killed in our country. That's high level stress. That's emotional tension, emotional stress that they're probably dealing with, whether they recognize it or not.
We are all in the battle for our lives, but I think it's just different. The society needs black men. So I want a black man to know that it is okay to not always feel strong. It is okay to not always feel confident. It is okay to seek help, but understand that you are important. Understand that this world will not work without you.
Black men are necessary because they're humans, and every human, regardless of who you are necessary. But more so now in the times that we're living with, like, we need them to be there and embrace not only each other, but also Black women, because we need to stand together as a community. They need to be our kings.
When I see Black men, I see a lot of strength. But I also see a lot of work to be done. That's okay, because we all need to be worked on, or we need to work on ourselves. I think the work that needs to be done is realizing that you are greater than this reality. You are greater than the instant gratification. You're greater than the now. You're the future.
I just feel like Black men could provide so much more than what the media and like things portray as, that I feel like people do need to see. Everything that they've been through is just so, like, again, like, definitely an added value. For example, I know like a lot of my friends have so many different ideas of like businesses they want to start up, or like they want to, like, their drive to be something bigger in their company. I feel like their perspective of like where they've come from and like all their different passions can come together into like one beautiful blossoming idea that like people haven't seen before, and I think that would be very much added in like society.
We're not making it normal in like TV shows for people to have like a Black doctor, to have like a Black accountant, all those things, and so there's just no representation, so people don't normalize seeing those people in those roles. We normalize seeing them as basketball players, as football players, as these athletes, and whatnot, and so we're okay seeing them in those roles, but we're not okay seeing them in other roles.
But they're more than just that. What about our poets? What about our writers? What about our educators? People don't think beyond the physical limitations of a football field or a basketball court. They don't think about the men that hold PhDs. And that's really important. They have to understand, as a Black man, you have to step up and take your crown and do what needs to be done. Make sure that you're positive. Make sure that you're involved in the community. Make sure that the things that you do show that you're a positive light and a positive force. Be a role model. Be a mentor for another young Black man to show them the way if they don't have a father figure in their life. Because the only way we can change things is by doing.
Forget what society has told you you need to be and that you have to do this. Embrace who you are as a Black man. Know who you are as a Black man and how you're going to impart that on the next generation.
The community that I come from, there is a lot of work to be done in terms of how I see Black men. I would say to really just take a step back and think about what they really want. This is what I grew up seeing, just Black boys growing up to do nothing but sell drugs or be in gangs, or, you know, finding comfort in doing what everyone around them is doing, just because this is something that they've seen all of the people that they look up to, the rappers, and like what they see in the movies, what they see people do, and they think, you know, that's possible and that's all I have to look up to. And this is why I think it's important to have powerful Black men as role models, like to show these people that you don't have to necessarily take that route. There is another way to do things. And I always think about that, and because I have friends who have closely dealt with people in this lifestyle, so I know pretty well that there are other things that they could do, but for some reason, when this is all you hear about yourself in the world and all that you see, that has some kind of like psychological effect on you in terms of how you move forward and how you live your life. So I think older Black men need to reach out more and do a better job into reaching out to younger Black men and help out for them to grow up to see themselves differently. And the media need to do a better job at portraying Black men differently and showing that there are different ways to do things. There are different paths to do things. Like, there needs to be more shows and more movies that are popular portraying powerful Black men being successful during doing really very much so legal things.
The one thing that I would tell black men is to get your education. A lot of times the money is good. When you want to work and you want to earn a paycheck and you see the paychecks coming in, that's all you want to do. But it's important that you get your education, because then that's something that can never be taken from you.
I think that the odds are stacked against you. But if you find that yourself, you find that you're in a situation where you're not able to get where you need to go. You say you live in a really dangerous area, don't have a lot of money. You're already used to being uncomfortable. So why don't you just do something just this much more uncomfortable?
For black men in particular, I think it's breaking down what it means, like breaking down gender roles, breaking down what it means to be specifically a black man in our country, breaking down like what it means to receive mental health help, breaking down just like what it means to like be a black male, and then shifting that for the future generations to come, so that way they're not facing the same challenges that they did when they were young children as well.
It is okay to be vulnerable in certain spaces that, you know, I know society has said you shouldn't. Don't show your sensitive side. Always be the go-getter and aggressive. Try not to be too quiet, but try not to be so loud, but be forceful in what you want to do. That is society on what black men are should or shouldn't be. Find that person you can be vulnerable. You cannot do this thinking you can't ever be vulnerable. It does not work that way.
I think it takes a lot of reflection of ourselves to recognize why we have barriers up. Find a friend that understands you. Talk to someone.
Well, vulnerability is the willingness to let other people in and for them to see you for who you really are. And that's a beautiful thing to do. And that's a really powerful thing to do, because it takes a strong person to allow that to happen. As black women, we can do a better job at embracing our black men with their vulnerability, because sometimes it can be seen as a weakness, and black men, they don't want to lose their manhood over being vulnerable with everything else that they're already facing in the world, all the stereotypes. So I can see how challenging it can be for a black man to be vulnerable. But it always takes that one person to break that cycle, and for someone else to see, okay, that does not make him any less of a man.
It is okay to not always have to fit the masculine, what it means to be a man, and fit that very narrow box. Continue being you, continue supporting yourself, taking care of yourself, physically, mentally, taking care of like the people that you love around you.
Open up your horizons and try different things. You never know if you like playing chess and you can be the new, champion chess player. Try new things and never say no, because I think we're such a capable group of people. You can be president. Look at Obama. That's my boy. What's poppin'?
One thing that I would say about black men is their grit, their fight, their fortitude, I think is beautiful. That no matter the crap that society has said they should be or thrown at them, black men continually get up and do better.
There's a certain charisma or certain presence that black men have that they don't know they have, that once they walk into a room, it's just you kind of, it gets everyone's attention, and I don't think every black man knows that they have that. I don't think they know that what kind of power that they hold, not only what they look like, which is gorgeous fine men, but also what they bring to the table, their skills and their talent is just overall beautiful, and it's very much needed in this world.
Black men are strong,
Resilient,
powerful,
capable of love,
more than what meets the eye.
Black men are proud,
caregivers,
gorgeous,
beautiful,
and leaders.
Black men are our kings.